Right, hello. This is Coach Andre, Rhythm and Stroke, and today I have the privilege of being joined by my father, Gregory Morton here. That's where I got my genetics for swimming from, and he was an excellent teacher as well when he was teaching in the public school system. And so, just have a couple questions for you today. We'll just get right into it. So, from your perspective, why is it important for people to learn how to swim?
Well, it's extremely important, I think, that people need to learn how to swim. First, for self-preservation. If you ever had a situation where you're in water or had to get yourself from a situation being in the water, whether you wanted to be there or not, if you didn't have any skills or a skill set that was taught to you by someone in the family or a swim instructor or coach, then you're going to be very awkward in a situation that involves water. And to manipulate and get yourself to safety is not an easy thing to do in water, whether it be in a pond, a stream, a lake, a river, and especially an ocean. You know, a lot of people go on those cruises and whatnot, and you just never know what might happen if you had to end up trying to save your own life and maybe somebody else's life. If you don't have a skill set that would allow you to do that, and being able to, float on your back to get yourself to safety, there's several strokes that you can learn and be taught by a swim coach that can make that happen for you, or to be able to make a way for yourself in the water by doing a side stroke, if you learn side stroke, which would survive many a situation in terms of side stroke. A side stroke, on your side like that, you can see where you're going, you can see where you were coming from, and you're using half of your body in the water, and then that gives you a better balance too, in terms of being able to save yourself and possibly someone else that you could carry by the shoulders in the water. So self-preservation, that's number one in terms of why it's very important to learn how to swim.
I want to ask you this. So I remember, you don't have to tell this story, but I remember you told us a story one time. It wasn't a story, it was a true account about when you and your brother were in the ocean, and you all were swimming in the ocean and got out there kind of far and realized that you all had to get back, and that was you all knew for your survival, you all had to get back, but you went out in the ocean and you got out there pretty far. Now, I've talked a lot of my videos about, difference between a swimming pool or lake and an ocean, but just if you could speak a little bit to that feeling you had when you and your brother were out there in the ocean, and how it zapped your energy and how you had to get back.
Okay, good. My perspective on that is, even though my brother and I were very good swimmers, we learned how to swim at the YMCA at a very early age. Myself, I was 6 years old, and my brother's 4 years older than I am. He was 10. And that time that we were out in the ocean, which was the Atlantic Ocean, up by the Atlantic seaboard, Atlantic City.
About how old were you all at that point?
At that point, we're talking a young 20, early 20 years of age for me, my brother 4 years older. And actually I was visiting my brother up on Long Island, and he wanted to come into Atlantic City to walk on the boardwalk, to run on the beach, to do a little training, and do a little swimming. but we kind of lost our depth perception of swimming in the ocean. And why I say that is because when we looked at the buoy that was out there, it looked like it was reachable. You know, with us being very good swimmers, we didn't have a second doubt about being able to go out to the buoy and come back without a problem. And when we entered into the Atlantic Ocean and started swimming, I think one of the things we had forgotten about was the ocean, the current of the water. Because when you go into the water, the bigger the element is, whether it be lake, the lake is pretty big, and river is pretty big, you kind of underestimate the movement of the water. And it can be calm when you look at it at times. But going into the water could be a different story, because the current could come up all of a sudden. You know, you just can't anticipate that. So we're going out towards the buoy, and we're doing freestyle. And kind of, you know, every now and then, intermittently, we look at each other and say, well, we're okay. And then we kept going and kept going, and we still hadn't reached the buoy. So that depth perception can be very tricky. And say, well, we can do this. This is what our goal was.
So it was further out than you thought.
It was further out than what we could imagine. And we got to the buoy, and we kind of gathered our breath and looked at each other and said, oh man.
So you all were treading water at that point?
Yeah, we were treading water around the buoy. And the physicality that we both felt at that time, it was further out than we had imagined, no doubt about that. And so we looked at each other and talked to each other and said, we're gonna have to make this back the best way we can. And freestyle may not be the best option for us. We could alternate between that, backstroke, breaststroke. Definitely no butterfly, because butterfly is probably the most physical of all four strokes in swimming. And so we started out with the backstroke, and then the back crawl, where you use all four of your limbs, and you glide and you rest, and you glide and you rest. And then we turned over breaststroke. And actually, we started feeling, said, man, oh man, we got to, you know, we kept encouraging one another. Plus, all along, the current was pretty strong. And we survived. And when I mean survived, we survived. When we got back to that beach, and we talked to each other and said, never again. We said, will we ever do that? I don't care how good a swimmer you are. Because when you get into water, you have to really measure what you're getting ready to get into. Think about it, talk about it. Sometimes you don't have that opportunity, and you are caught in situations. But if you don't have any skill sets, like what my brother and I had, we had enough skill sets to survive. Good swimmers to make it back just by the skin of our teeth. Because we had underestimated the current below the surface of the water. You never know what that's going to be like. And for good swimmers, I don't care. Michael Phelps, all them great Olympic swimmers, and you hear about people swimming in the English Channel, this, that, and the other. Well, they train for that. You know, that's a whole different box of Wheaties there that you have to eat. And I mean, you train for that. Seriously training to swim in the English Channel. And I just think, you know, swimming, whether you think about it or not, is one of the key ingredients in developing, you know, confidence in yourself to be able to do something and accomplish something, whether it's on a swimming pool level, a pool in the backyard, because a lot of people drown in that situation too. Going out to picnicking and you see water right there, and kids are very vulnerable, and adults, thinking that, you know, the water's calm and this, that, and that. They don't know how deep the water is either. Because when you get into water, there is no bottom sometimes. You get in there and you panic because you can't feel the bottom. The pool, you can see the bottom. It gives you, you know, so your coach or your instructor can give you a measurement of the depth of the water. But anything outside of that, in the outside world, you got to be very careful. And if you don't have skill sets to deal with the challenges that may come in front of you, even the best of swimmers go down, especially out there in them lakes, rivers, ponds, whatever, in the outside environment. You got to be careful. Even rowing in the boat, when the boat capsized first. You know, I've heard too many. I know a couple of people that took their grandkids out on a rowboat just so they could have the experience.
No life jackets.
No life jackets, and kids never to be seen again. And the gentleman that took them out, he had no skill sets at all. He tried the best he could, you know, but the kids couldn't save him because his skill sets were very minimal. So you talk about water and learning to swim in the water, extremely important.
Okay. If you had, and you know, children need to learn how to swim, no matter what age you are, and adults, even if they haven't learned, if they had a trauma or something when they were younger and that kept them out of the water. Just as the last, you know, final word, what would you say to, because we know a lot of adults, you know, are doing better. We're not where we need to be, especially in the black community, but a lot of adults are doing better at making sure their children learn how to swim. But there's still a number of even the adults who don't know, and so what would you just say as a final word of encouragement to just, you know, people, adults and children on getting the skill, even just having survival skills?
Yeah, that's an important skill set for everybody, adults, children, teenagers, middle-aged people, men and women, to investigate and to do some research on what would be the best route to travel to start learning how to swim and to navigate, be able to navigate in water the proper way and the right way. Because, you know, some people say, oh, I know how to swim, because that's their natural response. They figure they can go in and gangster the water. You can't gangster no water. The water's gonna be gangstering you. And because when you get in that water, the volume of water, and you don't know how to manipulate and get yourself stabilized and balanced in that volume of water, and water takes you over. The weight of the water itself, not even talking about the current, will overwhelm you. And I think you should research, you should investigate, find out where you can take some classes, beginning classes, and go from there. You know, actually get out and go around. I mean, it's nice that you can go online and investigate that way and find out who's available and what kind of credentials they have in terms of their ability to coach properly and the right way, but also to visit, you know, a facility where the coach is or the swim instructor is, and just don't take it at first hand evidence that, well, it looks okay. Yeah, a lot of things look okay when you're out there visiting. It's a nice facility, yeah, it's a nice facility. But what kind of skill sets does that coach or that swim instructor bring to the situation?
The quality of the instruction.
The quality of instructions. It's just like most sports. You know, you can get bad instruction and lose interest in what you're pursuing, whether it be swimming, tennis, basketball, whatever sport. And bad instruction leads you into bad habits and in bad situations. You find yourself, well, I was taking the lessons. Yeah, but what kind of lessons were you getting? You know, was it good or was it bad? And, you know, you have to really do your homework when it comes to finding a swim coach or a swim instructor. Men, women, children, whoever.
One more thing I'll say, question I asked you, well, I got a statement, is, you know, we know a lot of people, swimming is an investment, you know, so, I mean, you know, you have to pay an instructor, I mean, unless you have somebody in your family that can do it for free, but mostly anybody that has a skill set that can move you along, you know, at a good pace, you know, you're going to have to pay for it. So it is an investment, but once the return on the investment is, it's a skill that you'll have for a lifetime. And so a lot of times, you know, what I tell people as well is, you know, there's people that are millionaires who never learned how to swim. And we hear stories all the time. Oh, this person worked for 20, 30 years or whatever. They finally got this big old house. And of course, what comes along with a nice house is a nice pool. And they nice neighborhood, $1 million home, they get a pool, and next thing you know, either they drown or somebody drowns in that pool. So all that, the money, the things that we put that big value on, don't mean nothing if a simple skill, a vital skill is swimming, if you would have just known that, or just had some survival skills, your life can be extended. So the investment, the other things that we invest in, you know, tennis shoes and all of these things, these are things we need, but it doesn't overstate the value of your longevity in life, especially being around water. Those are very sad stories when we hear them.
Yes.
Person got all this money, but they didn't never learn how to swim, and they chose to get a pool, but didn't choose to get swimming lessons for themselves or, you know, or for those in their family. And the people drown. Now all of that money don't mean nothing.
Right. You have, just to piggyback on what you just shared, if you don't mind, neighborhood pools, community pools, people, we can go. Just grab the kids and go. And I'll be able to sit on the side of the pool in the lounge chair and lay back, and you can get into water. I don't care whether it's a millionaire that has a pool in the back, YMCA, or neighborhood community pool. You can get into water. And if you haven't been instructed in terms of the options, what are some of the pitfalls that we have to be aware of? You can go into anybody's water situation. What if you catch a cramp in your leg, a cramp in your side? If you haven't been trained properly, your first reaction is to go to where that cramp is, your calf, your foot. And you're dealing with that, but you're slowly sinking down. And if you haven't been taught the proper skill sets to deal with cramps or passing out, losing your energy, getting lightheaded, because you know all that, what you bring to the table is important as far as your physicality, nutrition-wise, and are you taking care of yourself, and just going to the pool and say, hey, we're gonna have fun. Well, there's a lot more to it than that. I don't care how high up you are on the ladder or how low you are on the ladder in terms of your economics. That water is nothing to play with. And you gotta be taught all different kinds of situations and what to do in those situations if something came up.
And water don't care who you are. It don't care what color you are. It don't care how much money you have. It don't care how much money you don't have. If you don't know how to handle yourself, it can take you away from here.
Yeah.
Don't matter who you are or what you have.
Yes.
So it's a great equalizer in that sense.
Right. I think, and you know, we, as I've learned even from you, from our ancestors, from back in historical African heritage days over in the continent of Africa, we were some of the best swimmers on this earth at one time. And that really hasn't been brought out in terms of our culture, our history, things that we were capable and able to do. We've lost that art of being able to swim in water and not feel afraid of it. And so that's something we have to get back as a not just as a culture within our culture, but as a culture in all cultures. You know, black, white, Asian, Chinese, whoever. They should take seriously the thought of learning how to swim. Because not only do you protect yourself, but you can help somebody else too in the process. As you know, Coach, too many situations come up where you're out there on those picnics and you're on the beach and somebody's calling for help. Nobody's responding. Why not? Because they don't have the swim experience or instruction or skill sets to go save somebody. Because they know if they go out there, their life is at risk too. And they're not going to be pulled down, because if you go out there to try to save somebody, what happens is that person sees you coming and they pull on you and they pull you down under, and you're on the bottom and they're up top trying to save themselves. So if you don't know how to deal with that kind of a situation, you know, there's all kinds of situations that not only learning how to swim and developing the skills to do the different strokes and the variations of strokes, to learn how to do what's necessary to save yourself and somebody else is extremely important.
Right. Well, we're gonna take it right there. I think that was excellent, and I want to thank you for sharing and answering the questions very knowledgeably, eloquently, and then sharing that experience about your brother. And as this movement that we're in continues to grow, just people all over, all groups, all over the planet, learning, increasing the number, because there's high drowning rates in all groups, but especially us black folks, we got the highest rate of drowning on the planet Earth. And like you said, but at one time we used to be the best swimmers on the planet. So it's just going within ourselves, and people like myself, coaches, encouraging, our own people to get out there and to learn. We will be successful in the future, but it's going to take some time.
It's a worthwhile investment. People pay money for a lot of things in life. Why not invest in your own life, in somebody else's life? Money can't buy that. Somebody's life on the line. It might be yours, and it could be somebody else. What registers right away? Oh, I remember. I got this skill set to save my life and maybe somebody else's. I was taught that by a coach. And, you know, it's worth its weight in gold. When you look at it, in fact, more than its weight in gold. We're no more precious than to be able to save your own life and somebody else's. So, Coach, thank you. I mean, you know, I admire what you are doing and what you've been doing, and I think, you know, there's going to be a time where all this is going to be uplifted in people's lives. And it's going to be something that they're going to be worth looking into to make that investment.
Right. Invest in yourself. Get your children some swimming lessons. Make sure they know how to swim. You adults, if you don't know, find an instructor. Make sure you know how to swim, and both the family can come together, and you can not only save your child, but save yourself. You all can save each other. So this is Rhythm and Stroke. This is Coach Andre, and we'll be back at you with another one. Have a good one.